Welcome back. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC's News Check. On this second hour, we are looking at matters governance. You do remember after the Azimio Maandamanos on Monday, yesterday the head of state in his tour in Germany, he said that, of course, every Kenyan will be protected, property and lives will be protected as well, and also urged all Kenyans to follow the rule of law. Of course, the Maandamanos have been condemned by some quarters and leaders calling for a ceasefire and dialogue between the two leaders, including Africa Union head. He talked about that yesterday because when Kenya sneezes, Africa catches a cold. And also religious leaders and the clergy yesterday urged the two to put their differences aside and have a discussion in regards to what is happening, because tomorrow we expect another Maandamanos. Azimio will go on with their third leg of the Maandamanos, and also leaders are calling for ceasefire in the political rhetoric that we have in the country at the moment. Let's take responsibilities over what we say and what we do, because Kenya is one and Kenya is for all of us. That's a discussion that we're going to have right now, and I've really tried to avoid leaders or politicians, as sometimes they can be fueling animosity here and there. But we are putting things into perspective with two governance experts, and allow me to introduce them. On my immediate left, we have Dr. Harun Issack Hassan, and just next to him, we have Mwalimu Peter Amunga.
Yes.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Thank you. First things first, we have lost an MP from your region, Kulo Hassan, who is the MP for Barisa in Mandera.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. This morning we have woken up with sad news where one of our member of parliament, specifically member of parliament from Banisa constituency in Mandera County, lost his life as a result of an accident that occurred 3 days ago, and he was hospitalized and undergoing treatment in Aga Khan Hospital, where he succumbed to those injuries. Kulom Al Hassan is one of the a second-term MP for Banisa constituency, and he's one of well-respected leaders, particularly politicians, member of parliament, who is down to earth in his constituent and the larger county. And we are sad, and we, as we say in our Islamic faith, we lost him in a very holy month of Ramadan. We pray for him. May his grave widen. Allah widens for him. And we always say that inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We come from God and we go back to Him. And we wish the family that. and the other one is,
of course, electoral
reforms. When historically you look at it very keenly, all those things can be done in a boardroom. It does not require street demonstrations to lower the life of the cost of living. Why do I say so? The last few days that there were demonstrations, dollars have hiked up. Why? You have already increased the cost of living. People are not doing their business, incomes are not flowing, and people are running away from the country.
Yes, and that is where I want to pick it from, because yesterday the head of state was addressing our diaspora brothers and sisters, and of course the whole world, and looking at here back home, of course they need that assurance, as being they're giving over 400 billion Kenya shillings, and looking at the stock market, which has a lot of external investors. I remember yesterday I saw an interview where the CEO of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, Kitoni, was talking about 8 billion shillings in investment that some of the investors had to pull out, and so the NSE had a hit. And he said we really needed to curb this now before we incur huge losses. And as Doc has talked about, look at the shilling where it is right now. The president's sentiments yesterday, bearing in mind he's a symbol of national unity, is a very important message.
And that is where the bottom line is. The president, people just didn't wake up and invade the farm of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. There must have been some plan. There must have been some intelligence that something was going to happen. You see, it is not right as a president or anybody else to cry foul after things have happened. You know, what needs to be done is that as a president, as a leader, you take the reins, you take the instruments of power that you've been given to rein in anything that may bring anarchy, anything that may bring that may disable our nation, our economy. As a president, the president needed to have acted earlier, because we can tell, and I can say it without any fear of doubt, that prior to the invasion of the Kenyatta farm on Monday, there were statements that had been released by leaders. Some of them very powerful leaders in this government. They stood in a church, and one of them said, if this and this happens on such and such a time, we shall invade your farm. One of those leaders even went ahead, a CS in this country, a minister, went ahead and wrote on his social media Twitter page, and wrote some words that implicated that there is something we are going to get, something,
and we know about it.
And we know about it, that we are aware. A communication expert, a person who works like me in communications, and who is right now has been nominated as a CAS in charge of communications. My friend and my brother Dennis Itumbi tweeted on his Twitter account and wrote Northlands a day before these people invaded. Those kind of words are not words
addressing that, because there are a number of issues that I think in normal circumstances we don't pick it positively. I think it is good everything should be looked at from different dimension, so that we are able to say this specific thing happens as a result of this. First and foremost, I think police are just human beings like us. We don't have robot police in our country. And you know very well there was massive demonstrations everywhere in the city. Every other part of every corner of the city, perhaps there were police officers who were manning those areas. But two things emerge when some things happens, is when people like talking about it so much. One, do we have our police officers doing their work in the right manner? Do we facilitate them, or we always condemn them? Why am I saying so? If a policeman pushes a demonstrators who are looting, in essence, there are people who are carrying machetes. They were carrying machines that cutting, those machines that are used for pruning trees. And a policeman has a gun, and he's not able to use his gun. What happens? He's a father of someone. He's a mother of someone. He's a son of someone. He will keep observing, because that is massive looters who have come out to loot. And when people are looting property, they don't remember anything else. They only see the property. But a number of things that has happened is not rightfully observed. One, I think it was wrong for the police or the commanders of the police not to mention or respond appropriately on that demonstrators or the looters. We call them looters because they are never demonstrators, those ones. Because the demonstration was going on somewhere else, where even the leaders of the Azimios were.
Kindly hold the thought. You were mentioning something very closely related to what she's talking about.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think she has put very well part of the, areas that each and every person always pick in the Constitution in regards to the current situation. The only thing that perhaps I will have mentioned is that sometimes we don't balance the situation. We have this happening. We have, I mentioned, like, for example, the police. At what point a police officer is supposed to use his weapon? Because if a demonstrator is already armed, and the thing and the Constitution says the person should not be armed and should be peaceful. I think this mess should be stopped. Both the Zimio team and these other people who are, boiling it from their other side, so that we live our peaceful life. We can stay with our hunger, but we can't stay with war.
Yeah, Mwalimu, you wanted to add something on that, because looking at the leaders that we have, there are some utterances which a lot of Kenyans are uncomfortable with in the last couple of months, but we haven't even seen them record even a statement or being summoned by the NCIC. NCIC yesterday, via their chairman, released a statement and actually had a press conference talking about ceasefire in matters of politics and also the ceasefire between the two political leaders.
You know, Ben, the issue about Kenya is double standards. You know, even as Daktari is airing his views, Daktari, I believe he speaks from the point of view that talking about a nation that is well governed, obeys the law, and but we are living in a nation where double standards are applied. And what we have seen in the last 2-3 days is double standards. Well, that's what the Human Rights Commission is talking about. We can't have a situation whereby we can praise one side that went to invade a farm and say that's okay, they were hungry and they were looking for food, and then this other side that went to the streets with Furias and Mwiko on the streets, and we say those ones are hooligans. I tend to think that's double standards. The buck stops with the president and the Ministry of Interior, nothing else. You cannot tell me that you concentrated your troops on a few people. You say those ones are the bad ones in Kisumu, or the ones who are bad in Mombasa, and then you say that the ones who are going to rob a farm in Thika, those ones are okay because they're hungry, they are looking for food. No way. We are saying, as a country, there has to be rule of law, and law does not, law is not a respect of one person or the other. Wanasema kwa Kiswahili, sheria inakata nyuma na mbele. What we needed to see and we need to hear, and I'm saying it on national television, by now, it's not to be Mwalimu here condemning issues here. It should be the Minister of Interior by now should have spoken and condemned what happened in the Northlands of Kenyatta family. I would have condemned what happened in Kibra, where a mosque was burned, where a church was burned. That's what we call anarchy. That's not demonstration. Let Kenyans, and I want people, you know, we are very dishonest as a country. We like shifting blame, and now we want to call it demonstration. What was happening was not demonstrations.
the civilized way. We are not civilized. It's not the police. I think he is putting a lot of weight on the police. I don't think so. The beginning of all the anarchy we are talking about, one, utterance of the politicians, two, the followers of those politicians who are demonstrators. In civilized society, Malimu,
yes,
people go to a park, for example, Uhuru Park. Everybody assembles there, and everybody is confirmed that he is not armed. Then from there, they start making their move. Look at how South Africa has done it, very, very systematically, in a very civilized manner. Now, ours, one comes from the other side carrying a stone, the other one carrying machetes, others are screaming. It is not demonstration. That is called hooliganism. And when people are doing hooliganism, there is no way police can be blamed. Police should be in a position to suppress those hooligans, which is done in every other society, including the civilized society, who have told us demonstration should be very much peaceful, which I agree it should be very peaceful and it should be having a right. But one thing that must be very clear is that each and every person in this country has a right, including the police officers, whom most of the time the blame goes to. I don't think if someone should wake up and say, if Malimu's son is a police officer or wife, and she goes to the demonstration, she goes and faces the demonstration, he'll be worried. He thinks that his wife will going to be stoned. He thinks that his son will going to be killed. As a police officer, how do you worry for your police officer who's supposed to be protecting the other people?
Okay.
So I think the bottom line finally,
KNCHR has brought about the issue of the rights of both the demonstrators and the police officers. Yesterday, the president did speak to the international community, and more so on the Kenyans living in the diaspora, and more so in Germany. And he said that the rule of law, and we are going to be protecting life and property. Perhaps that's a telltale sign that maybe we could have discussions between the two leaders, because at the end of the day, Azimio are so adamant on their stand that this and this and this have to be done, but they also have to calm down. Should be the president, from what he said yesterday, could he be acting now the bigger brother and reaching out?
It is good always to have peaceful conversation, because that way, where there are conversations, where there are consultations, where there are discussions, always a very good outcome will come. But I think from the onset of the whole issue, some of the things that, if someone is still doubting that the president is illegitimate in the office, there's a problem. Because legitimacy issues has been resolved by IBC, and then we said IBC was not fair. We went to Supreme Court, and that was a ruling was made. So that way things have already been done in a civilized manner. So we don't talk about the legitimacy of a presidency who is
have the opportunity to be the driver by accommodating them in that bus. So our president has got a real role to play. His role is to be magnanimous, to bring everybody on board. And he has nothing to lose by doing that. And Raila Odinga has also to know that when you breed anarchy, you reap anarchy. When you want to every time ask for war and demonstration, expect war and demonstration. Okay. So our leaders must reach out to each other. It's not about shaking hands, but it's about reaching out and speaking.
All right. In 30 seconds, wrap it up.
I think we want to live a very happy life in this country. We need peace. We are already struggling with our own life. Politicians should not mess us. And I think people who want to push young people to demonstrate, that is not the right way. Let's have a peaceful conversation. Let's talk about things that can help and change the living standard of our people. And that way we will be able to make a difference in our society.
Thank you so much. Well said, Dr. Harun Issack Hassan, governance expert, and just next to him, Mwalimu Peter Amunga, communication expert and also a governance expert. Thank you indeed so much for joining us. Let's continue this conversation on social media as we have come to the tail end of this live conversation. But I'm giving the baton to now the Swahili desk, Tamrini and Kuruzi Mashinani coming up next. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ben Troinjue.